Hello, Eagles everywhere. I'm Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro. Glad to have you with me today. And one of the things that a head coach has to do very early in his tenure is put together a coaching staff. The Eagles have done that. I'm here to talk about it exclusively and for the first time. Head Coach Nick Sirianni. Nick, how are you today?
Great. How about you?
Doing great, thank you. Let's talk about the coaching staff as this offseason ramps up. It is completed. It is a process. Can you describe how you got to know all of these guys? Are they previous relationships you had in the coaching world? Are they references? Are they just flat out cold interviews that guys impressed you?
I think the answer is yes to all those things, right? You know, you have a variety of guys on the staff that I've had previous relationships with. And I think I've mentioned this before, that when you have that previous relationship with that person, right, you've essentially, let's say you've spent a year or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years with that person, they've had a 3 or 4 year interview process, right? So, you know, you want the best people on your staff that help develop the players. That's what it's all about. Then there's guys that you've heard about through other people, or, you know, somebody else that might not be a direct contact to me, but maybe somebody on the staff. You know, so it was always about the interview process. And then it was the vetting of that person, calling around. It wasn't too much to call 10, 15, 20 people to see that have worked with that coach in the past and see if, you know, what if that all checks out. If what you're hearing is checking out from the people that have spent that year or two with that person. So great process. And again, some of the guys we didn't know at all. Nobody knew. It was just, hey, this is a good coach. He's available. You know, this is a good coach in the college game. He's available. This is a good coach in the NFL game. He's available. Okay, let's go through that same interview process and let's go through that same vetting process. So what an experience. We got to learn a lot of ball, right? We're asking the questions, but then, you know, oh man, that was a good idea. Oh, that was a good idea. Like, we got to learn a lot of ball, and that's what we do. We're ball coaches, so it was a great process. It was long and it was tedious, but I know it made us better as a staff. We got the right pieces in my mind in here, and then it's made us better as a staff because we were just talking ball day in, day out.
Nick, what were you looking for? What do you have with your coaching candidates now, coaching staff? What kind of guys and what they have to show you, what they have to prove to you to be on your staff?
I think that there's a lot to it, right? I want to know that they know how to teach fundamentals. That is so important to me. And then our other job as coaches is to put them in the best positions possible to succeed, right? Based off of your game planning. So that was important to me, that I saw they could help in the game plan process of when we go through a week and help get our guys in the right positions. The other thing that was really important to me is that their core values coincided with my core values, right? I wanted to know how they connected with guys. Not just, oh yeah, it's really important that we connect with guys. No, how do you do it? I wanted to know that how they coach competitiveness and fundamentals and football IQ, right? And how they held guys accountable. That was all so important to me, to hear them just ask the question, tell them what I thought it meant, and then let them talk.
Nick, I will not ask you about every single one of your coaches, but let's get into the individuals and start with the coordinators. Jonathan Ganon, you talked about him a bit as your defensive coordinator. Let's elaborate a bit here. What do we expect from the Eagles defense in 2021 from a scheme standpoint, and what makes Jonathan such a great coach?
You know, Jonathan has been around, you know, 2 coordinators, and I know he's been around other guys too, but the 2 guys that really stick out in my mind are Matt Eberflus, who I was able to be around with the Indianapolis Colts for these past 3 years, who I think is a phenomenal coach. I love his scheme. I love his how he teaches fundamentals. And then also Mike Zimmer. I don't know if there's another coach in the NFL that I have as much respect for as a defensive coordinator as Mike Zimmer. And he's around these guys constantly. Those 2 guys are phenomenal. And you know, he's been around other good defensive coordinators. I'll let him tell you about all those guys he's been around. But it's the people that develop us. And Jonathan's been around great people, and he's a smart guy, so he's used a little bit. He's listened, he's talked, he's gathered information, and he's came up with his own philosophies. So really looking forward to everything he's going to do. And then just his attention to detail, his desire, his fire, just got a ton of energy and juice on the field that I know is contagious. And yeah, I can't wait for our guys to get around him and be around him be around him every single day.
On the offensive side of the ball, Shane Steichen is your guy. You've worked together. What does he bring to your offensive philosophy?
Yeah, Shane is a former quarterback at UNLV. And the way he thinks and talks about the quarterback to make the game simple for the quarterback, even seeing how much he's grown since the time I've been with him. We've all grown. We're always growing as a coach. And so he just has a unique way to be able to make things simple for the quarterback. And we saw that last year with Justin Herbert of how he was able to take a young quarterback who's never played a snap in the NFL and turn him into the rookie of the year. He makes the game simple for him, and he's got so much passion, especially when he's talking about that position. And as we all know, that is the most important position in all of sports. And so to have his expertise in that area is going to be huge for this football team.
Michael Clay was here with Chip Kelly's staff. He comes back after a bit of a breakup. So the relationship is reestablished in Philadelphia. He's here to run special teams, Nick, and we knew Michael as a young assistant coach then. What has he done over the years to impress you?
Michael's interview was incredible. I've told this to our staff. Anything we threw at him, he had an answer for. And it was a good, detailed answer that he's thought through. When you're really ready for an interview, it's because you've been preparing for that interview for years, right? You can't just prepare for an interview in a night. You can just tell that this guy has been preparing for being a special teams coordinator for his entire career. Right, he's been around good guys. He knows the situations that he knows what he wants to run. He knows exactly how he wants to coach it.
Position coaches are so important to the development of players. So let's talk about a few of them. Starting at the quarterback position, Brian Johnson at Florida, huge numbers last year. Why'd you bring him in as your quarterback's coach?
Yeah, and so this is a guy I didn't have a previous relationship with, or no one really on our staff, but we saw a great coach, and we saw a great coach by numbers, right? As you know, you saw what he did with that offense at Florida, super impressive. What he did with that quarterback at Florida, super impressive. So excited to have Brian. He brings so many good ideas. He brings an element of the college game that not all of us have. Again, couldn't be more thrilled to have Brian on the staff.
At tight end, Jason Michaels, 16 years in the NFL. Tell me a little bit about him. Why he's a good fit?
If you look at Jason's track record with tight ends, like he's had some of the most productive tight ends there are. You know, he had Antonio Gates in San Diego. He had Delaney Walker. Last year he had Jack Doyle. He had Mo Alley Cox. He had Eric Ebron, right? And so these are productive players. Now, we know we like in this system to use our tight ends. That's no secret. I'm not giving away any secrets there. But what's most impressive about Jason is his guys are constantly ready to play. The development of Mo Alley Cox, I can't say enough about that. And to see his development over these past 2 years with Jason has been incredible, right? This guy has turned himself into a good tight end in the NFL. So much credit goes to Mo, so much credit goes to Jason. I know the product that he puts on the field each week. And those guys are ready to play and ready to roll at all times.
Jamelle Singleton is the running backs coach / assistant head coach. Explain, if you would, the title and then what kind of coach Jamelle is.
I must have called 20 people on him, and the response was the same over and over and over and over again. Got to have this guy on your staff. First guy I would hire. And it checked out, and he was just phenomenal detail in the fundamentals, really was good with scheme. Core value. He's just got special leadership qualities. We just know that how much he can help this staff in so many ways.
What are the responsibilities of a passing game coordinator, and why is Kevin Patullo the right guy here?
At the Colts in 2020, Kevin was elevated to that position. And I had never been around that position before. I really had never been around that position of pass game coordinator. We never had that. After about 2 weeks, I'm like, how did I ever not have this position? How did I not? This is so vital to us of what Kevin's doing on a day-to-day basis that I don't know how I live without it. Kevin's just got a really unique thought process of the pass game. He's been a wideout coach. He's been a quarterback coach. I just think when you've done both of those, you really, really, really understand the the intricacies of the pass game because you see it on both sides. That position is so vital. Again, didn't know it until I had it. And Kevin just did a phenomenal job. And I know our pass game was successful last year, in a lot of respects due to Kevin.
Nick, let's wrap up the offensive side of the ball here with a couple of coaches that you've retained from the previous staff. Jeff Stoutland, offensive line coach, running game coordinator, Aaron Moorhead, wide receivers coach. Why did you retain them? Why did you bring them back?
I was obviously being able to be around Frank Reich for a long time. In these past 3 years, Frank was coming off being with Coach Stout here in Philadelphia. I always felt like I was Frank's favorite. I did. I thought I was like, I'm Frank's favorite. I was so excited about that until I heard him talk about Stout. And he loves Stout. And so I felt like every day it was like, this is how Stout did it. This is how Stout did it. And you know what? And it was just incredible to hear somebody talk about a person, somebody that I really respect their football knowledge, and Frank Reich, talk about a person in so much detail and hold them in such high regard. It was a no-brainer for me to, when I got here, like, Stout's the line coach, good, sweet, here we go, we're ready to roll. And I can just tell you this, over the course of the last month, it's as advertised. He's a phenomenal football coach. Just really blessed to have him on this staff. I know it's no secret that our offensive line's played really well. All right, for the past years that he's been here. I know he's been here 9 years, and you can just hear the offensive line talk about him, of how much he means to them and how much better he's gotten them. And so that to me is one of the most important positions right there, having that coach that knows how to coach that position. And I know we got one of the better ones in the NFL in that. Aaron and myself and Kevin's path and Jason's path crossed in Indianapolis in 2019. Aaron did a minority internship with us. Aaron was able to be around us of how we kind of teach a wide receiver and how we teach the pass game. When we interviewed Aaron, we heard him talking the same language as we did, right? And that was important. And so, so we did have this prior relationship with Aaron that really did help be able to, that comfort level of be able to retain him on the staff. But also, he's just a good football coach, right? He's been showing us that this last month.
On the defensive side of the ball, Nick, under Coach Ganon, Tracy Rocker, defensive line coach, Nick Rallis, linebackers coach, Denard Wilson, defensive backs coach. What can you tell me about those three guys?
Tracy Rocker just, played. He's got a ton of experience in the college game and some experience in the NFL as well. And so, you just see the same thing. I know I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. Fundamentals. And just a good person, again, that the core values connect. And, he's got a good, unique perspective on the defensive line. And I know he's going to be able to get the most out of the guys that play that position. Nick Rallis, I really like his energy and this guy loves football. He loves football. I just don't know if there's a better compliment than that. Like, this guy just eats, drinks, and sleeps ball. Like, he loves it. He loves it. And that's contagious. I can feel that. I can feel, and just hear him talk about linebacker play. He's intense. I just think that he still looks like a linebacker. I'm not sure he couldn't still play. I just think his ceiling is so high. He's just going to keep going like this. He's already a great coach, but he's just going to keep going like this because he loves it. He loves what he does. He's going to be at home. His wife's going to be trying to talk to him at home, and he needs to talk to her. Right? He needs to cut out time for him. But I just know he's going to have his iPad right there watching a game while they watch, I don't know, The Bachelor or something like that. So, and then as far as Denard was another guy in the interview process that just blew me away. And his detail, again, you don't get ready for that process in one night. He's been getting ready for it over and over and over again. And his detail, his fundamentals, his scheme, like he's on it. He is on it. He's a really good defensive backs coach. And again, love seeing all these guys, how they interview and then how they look when they're here. And it's like you just get this, like, yeah, that's the guy. I knew it. Let's go. So really excited about those three guys.
All right, last coach I got to ask you about, Jeremiah Washburn, senior defensive assistant. What does that role entail?
When you have a guy that has the experience on the offensive side of the football, and being able to bring that to the defensive side, that's a very unique perspective to have. There's times we think like an offense thinks they know what the defense is doing, or the defense thinks they know what the offense is doing. And again, that's the conversations I've had with Jonathan a lot. Like, hey, is this happening? What I think's happening right here? Yes or no? And to be able to have that sitting right there in your meeting room, that's a good resource to have. I know people that have coached with him, and everyone speaks so highly of him. The people around the building, and that just doesn't happen unless you're a good person and you're a good coach. And so, I've been able to spend some time with him. Just a great perspective. Again, we talked about Brian's perspective from the college game, and then we talk about Jeremiah's perspective from the offense. To be able to have that in the defense, what a great resource.
Nick, you have me all fired up. Your energy is great. Final thing here. It is kind of interesting. I mean, we're 1 month into your tenure, and then in another month here, free agency starts. What do coaches do on a daily basis right now? I'm not sure fans really get a sense of what happens.
At this particular point, it's always we're depending on the year. Like right now, we're installing our scheme, right? We're installing our scheme of who we are and teaching it, right? We're teaching it. Not everybody has been in the scheme with us, so it's me and Shane teaching the offense to the rest of the position coaches. Now, Jason's a lot further ahead. He's been in it. Kevin's a lot further ahead. He's been in it. But it's the teaching, just like you would. And it's funny, what we do is we take that same thing we do in phase 1 and phase 2 with the players, and we're doing that with the coaches. Well, that's awesome. We get a chance to practice that too with the coaches, and then talk through things and massage things out, because right, we have this experience on this staff that's all these different guys and these different voices. Let's get it. Yes, this is what we're going to do, but let's make it what we do, right? And let's get it together that way. So that's a big portion of it. And then it's always watching, that we like to say that's the morning part of it. And then the afternoon part of it is watching free agents and watching college players, right? And really wrapping our mind around the next group of guys that will be Eagles. And so, that's kind of how the day's broken up. And then some of us coaches that don't have families to go to right now because they're living in other cities, we get to stay at night too, and we get to do the whole thing again. Just keep immersing ourselves in the football and into this building and into this city. So I always think it's a great bonding time too between the coaches, like that we get to just be together all day, and it's good bonding, and again that's really the connection to the coaches, is coach to coach, player to coach, player to player. That's so important to me for a good football team.
Nick Sirianni, great job. Awesome information. You are just so fired up about this thing. I'm feeling it, man. We are ready to go here. I love it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks,
and we'll talk to you soon. Nick Sirianni on the Eagles' new head coaching staff.